have an update, and the update is that we now know sort of what Beaver Stadium is going to look like in the future once it's completed, or at least the plan and the vision right now. Nate Bauer, senior insider for Blue White Illustrated, is here to talk about what he knows of the situation. And I know, insider is senior editor. Sorry, I think I used the guy that knows stuff. I used the wrong title. I apologize.
I know,
but the dude who knows things and is able to give you the context of the situation.
It makes some people just irrationally angry. So let's avoid it if we can.
Well, sorry about that.
I know. Go ahead. What do you got? Let's hear it.
Yeah. So, I just want to know what you know. I want to get an idea of what your impressions are. First off, we've got the renderings of Beaver Stadium. If you saw them on the BWI live show, we're going to get into the details a little more context from Nate. We literally got those as we went live, but I wanted to make sure that we had a conversation that is a little more substantial, because that's what we do here at BWI, is have the substantial conversation with Nate. So, here are the renderings. What are your initial impressions of what you see, or what you know about what you see?
Yeah, it's beautiful, right? I don't think anybody expected anything different, but it is good to see for fans that have had, I think, have been kind of waiting for this. It is a visual of what this looks like, right? People saw the West Side press box blown up. I know you have video of that coming. They've seen the upper half of the West Side stands come down, but they haven't seen really internally what it's going to be replaced with. And as you can see right here, these are the images. These are the projections of what they anticipate. And I think an important point to make early in this is that a lot of this stuff that you're seeing right in front of you, like right now, is like lounge space, right?
Yeah.
So that's a concourse right there.
So let's rewind this. So just to put these two things together, when you heard that Penn State was getting donations to the program from individuals,
that's right.
It was going to this, right? That's why this is called the Schuyler Family Club, as you can see here on screen. Is this is what it was donated for?
Yep.
Essentially.
Yep. So there's a Schuyler level, there's a Marzano level, and that's, I believe, this right here. This one is the Marzano, which is, look, this is a huge event space. It is much larger than the current Mount Nittany Club, which is where a lot of events are held. Expansive views and these huge windows and you name it. And so there are sections. There's going to be a section of like all of this stuff works on tiers, right? So the Schuyler level will have a certain number of seats that are contained within it that have exclusive access to this lounge, right? 2,500 seats. There's going to be another 3,000 seats that have exclusive access to, the Marzano lounge and so on and so forth. All of the specifics are within, Penn State's release, but I do think it's it's almost, I don't want to call it like an airport, but like there will be some things that are exclusive. There will be other things that are more broadly open, right? But based on where your tickets are, there will be different accesses and different perks and all kinds of stuff that is a massive upgrade. Right. Over what the current offerings are.
Is this different than the suites that they're planning on putting in as well on the West Side, or am I misremembering or misunderstanding some part of the plan?
Yeah, it's different, right? So there are, and again, like this is kind of the whole point, is when you looked at a map in the past of Beaver Stadium's ticketing options for season ticket holders, right? And it was based on step. There were, this section in the middle was a premium of $600, right? And then you go out one section and it's a premium of $400. And then you go out again and right, and so on and so forth. There were like 5 options, right? There were like 5 different areas within the stadium. There's going to be like 30 now.
Got it.
Right. That's kind of the point, is all of these different price points accommodate different appetites, obviously, for who can afford it and wants to indulge, who wants to take those steps. But there's also an important back piece to this, which is those original 5 options that I laid out are still going to be there in other sections of the stadium, right? There's going to be a bunch of those. Look, like this is in terms of seating, right? You're talking about a quarter of the stadium because the south end zone, the north end zone, and obviously the east side are not being impacted by this. They are being impacted in terms of the concourse and different amenities in terms of bathrooms and concessions and all that kind of stuff. Yes, those have already changed and will continue to change. But when it comes to the west side, even within the west side, there's going to be a ton of different price points and options. And that's it's not as though today's release revealed all of what those specifics are going to be, but it gives a broader understanding of, hey, here are some very specific, here are some different levels within this spectrum that you can start to dial in.
So a couple things here. First off, they say that Penn State in the release that Beaver Stadium is going to maintain more than 100,000 throughout the renovation of the project. I know that the final number is always important, but the number is important to fans. So let's talk. 90% of the people watching this, 95% of the people watching this will never set foot in these fancy ass clubs. But people love the fact that they have the biggest stadium in North America, or one of the biggest stadiums in North America. That's something they can have in their back pocket in conversations.
Yep.
What do you understand about that particular conversation in this context, and then the long term of the finished product?
It's what I wrote today, and that's it. Right? Is will Penn State continue to have 100,000 people in the stands during the renovation? The answer, yes. And that is huge, right? Because I do think that it's a big talking point and a big area of concern for fans is what kind of impact or detriment will you have in terms of the in-stadium experience, right? If James Franklin touts having a home field advantage and they're all in on 107,000 people, well, what happens when you eliminate half of a quarter of the stadium, right? Like how does that impact this year? And the answer is actually not as much as you might think. Right. If they intend, and as they announced, they intend to be able through 7,900 temporary seats, they intend to be able to mitigate a lot of that impact and still be able to top out over 100,000, which still puts them in, like, even during the renovation, they'll still be a top 10 capacity college football stadium in the United States this upcoming season. And then long term, the implications here are, the word that I believe they used is maintain. Right now, it's 106,532, something to that effect in terms of capacity. Maintain means that or higher, right? So, over the breadth of this, that is where their intentions are is to keep Penn State and Beaver Stadium, if not the highest capacity, then at the capacity that they currently are now.
So let's get to, we should have started with this, but here's the thing. When we're talking about the big picture stuff, these fancy clubs are going to be used not just for football games, not just for people that sip martinis and watch football in their suits and in their polos. And
smoking a pipe.
Yeah. So you can't have tobacco on school property, I don't think. So you mentioned, I want to go back to our conversation that you had with Pat Kraft this past summer. And he talked about the footprint of Beaver Stadium, how tight it is. If you've ever been in the Mountain Indy Club, it kind of feels like a hallway. These areas are going to be used year round, not just for football, but for private events, raising money, all of this in service of football and athletics. So we're starting with that because that's where pulling the biggest levers gets you the biggest return on your investment, at least from a big picture perspective. But people aren't going to be a part of that. They're going to be a part of this. So I guess what did you take away from kind of the revitalization of the areas that most people are going to interact with in terms of the concourses?
Yeah, I mean, those are hugely important too. Look, the actuality of all of this is that a lot of these spaces, I think, for most fans, are pretty irrelevant. Like to me, and maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe your enjoyment of the game is dictated by the quality of the stand that you get the hot dog at, and certainly, obviously, there's going to be concession improvements and all that kind of stuff that does appeal to people. But front and center, the question is, how are the seats? Right? Like, how are the seats?
Right.
The game that you get to watch, and the answer from all indications is markedly improved. You are going to be closer to the field, right? For anybody that has sat in the upper sections of the West or the East, you're far away, right? Like you're not close, right? This brings it where there are levels to this stadium stacked on top of each other that you're actually much closer to the action than you were.
The angle is steeper then.
Correct. And so I think the selling point, and something that is going to be broadly sought, including from people who currently have seats on the East and in the end zones, is the opportunity to even get upper level seats, right? Like upper level seats of this new area are going to be better and closer and at a better vantage point than a lot of what the other offerings are within the stadium right now.
Nate and I could talk for hours about a lot of important things, or also nothing, just because we like to talk. But Nate's, we've got to get going. This is just the slice of the conversation we can have right now. We will be having this conversation at bluewhiteillustrated.com. Great time to remind you that you can sign up right now. I don't know if the deal is live, but just be on the lookout, because you can get Blue White Illustrated $1 per week for your first year when you sign up. I don't know if that's live. Again, don't hold me to that being live right now, but it will be in the very near future. So check that out. We have the 1 week that you get in for that particular price of $1. Then you can try us out for a year. That was the plan. Now it's just $1, and then that per week for the rest of the year. And if you know how many weeks there are, that's $52 a year. That is a massive discount on what we provide, which I think, by the way, is some of the best stuff that you can find on the internet. I actually forgot to put this out here. So you have 30 seconds here. One last time watching Beaver Stadium fall to the ground from earlier in December. Listen, I took time to do it. I wanted everyone to see it at least one more time, which, of course, you can go see on the YouTube channel as well. So this is Nate Bauer. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. We'll be back with more breaking news when it happens here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel.